Imagine trying to catch a fish that is simply faster than you. If you chase it alone, you will fail. But what if you did not have to chase it at all? Instead, you and your family surround thousands of these incredibly fast fish. You work together, moving with absolute precision to trap them into a giant, swirling, living ball. And then, once the trap is set, one of you swims beneath the trapped prey and swings a 2-ton tail like a massive baseball bat. The result? Hundreds of stunned fish floating helpless in the water, caught in a single second. You see, orcas do not just hunt, they plan. They communicate.
Hello,
They assign specific jobs to specific individuals. And every single hunt is a highly calculated, flawlessly executed team operation. But to understand how they pull this off, we first have to understand who they really are.
Most people look at them and think they are whales. It is right there in their famous nickname, the killer whale. But they are actually the largest, most powerful members of the dolphin family. Scientifically known as Orcinus orca, these apex predators are absolute titans of the ocean. The females generally weigh between 3 to 6 tons, while the massive, towering males can reach a staggering 10 tons. To put that into perspective, that is the weight of an entire school bus. Spanning anywhere from 6 to 9 meters in length, these creatures are built for pure physical dominance. When they need to move, they can tear through the ocean water at speeds up to 56 kilometers per hour or 35 miles per hour.
But their physical size is not their greatest asset. It is their incredible lifespan and their deep social bonds. Females can live to be over 80 years old, meaning they accumulate nearly a century of survival knowledge. And they do not live alone. They live in permanent, tightly knit family groups called pods. In the wild, many animals eventually leave their families. Male lions are eventually kicked out of the pride to fend for themselves, but orcas are different. Most orcas, both male and female, will stay directly by their mother's side for their entire lives, and they need this family structure. Because out in the open ocean, hunting alone is a recipe for starvation. Fish do not just swim randomly. They move in massive schools. A single herring is incredibly agile and can change its direction almost instantly to dodge a predator. When you put 100,000 herring together, they stop behaving like individual fish and start behaving almost like one giant reactive organism. It is like trying to catch a drop of water in a shifting liquid wall.
If one massive orca decides to charge in and attack a school of fish completely alone, the school simply explodes in every direction. The fish scatter into the dark water, leaving the predator with almost zero reward for a massive expenditure of energy. Evolution realized that brute force was not enough. So, evolution created something much, much smarter. Orcas invented teamwork. This is perhaps the most incredible discovery regarding marine predators. Researchers have found that each whale within a pod often performs a completely different, highly specialized role during a hunt. Think of it exactly like a professional soccer team. Not everyone on a soccer field is trying to score a goal at the same time. If they did, the team would lose. Instead, some players defend the zone, some players pass the ball, and a select few are designated to actually take the shot and finish the play. A groundbreaking 2025 drone study observing Norwegian orcas revealed that these majestic animals naturally divide themselves into 2 main permanent roles.
First, there is the striker. The striker is usually the strongest, largest whale in the hunting party, very frequently a large male. The striker's job is not to chase the fish. Its only job is to get into position and deliver an enormous, devastating tail slap. But the striker cannot do this without the helper. The helpers are usually smaller whales. They do not attack the fish. They do not try to eat during the setup phase. Instead, they position their massive bodies around the fish to block all possible escape routes. The helpers literally build a living wall, trapping the fish in place so the striker has a perfectly stationary target to hit. This deliberate division of labor significantly increases the pod's hunting success. It is not random behavior. It is pure specialization. The researchers even found that the exact same whales repeatedly perform the exact same jobs across multiple hunts.
This level of coordination leads to what is arguably the most spectacular and chilling hunting strategy in the natural world. It is a terrifyingly efficient maneuver that scientists call carousel feeding. Here is exactly how this underwater ballet of death works. Step 1. The pod uses their biological sonar to find a massive school of herring in the freezing waters. Sometimes these schools contain millions of individual fish. Step 2. The pod slowly begins to circle around the outer edges of the massive school. As they swim, they begin moving faster and faster. The fish realize they are surrounded and they panic. In their instinct to hide behind one another, the fish compress into a tight, dense sphere known as a bait ball. Step 3. The orcas begin to tighten the noose. They release thick streams of bubbles from their blowholes, creating a visual net that the fish are terrified to cross. The whales intentionally roll over to flash their stark white bellies, using the bright contrast to further disorient the prey. All the while, they make loud, terrifying pulsed calls and screeches underwater. Every single action is designed to terrify the fish and force them inward, compressing the bait ball even tighter.
Step 4. Once the fish are packed together so tightly that they can barely move, the trap is sprung. One designated orca, the striker, dives deeply underneath the bait ball. Then, with a massive contraction of muscle, it swings its heavy tail upward into the fish. But the orca is not trying to bite them. The orca is using physics. An adult orca's tail, called a fluke, can weigh hundreds of kilograms. When it swings that immense weight at high speed, the water rapidly accelerates. This creates massive underwater pressure waves. The shock wave travels directly through the bait ball. Instantly, hundreds of fish are stunned. Their swim bladders rupture, or they are simply knocked completely unconscious by the concussive force. Many are completely immobilized without even a single scratch on their bodies. Step 5. The chaos stops. The pod calmly and effortlessly swims through the cloud of stunned prey, gently picking up and eating the injured fish one by one. Once they have cleared the stunned fish, they reset their positions and they repeat the entire carousel.
It takes a fraction of the energy required to chase fish individually, and it guarantees a massive feast for the whole family. But how do they coordinate all of this in the dark, murky waters of the ocean? They constantly communicate. Underneath the waves, the pod is in constant conversation, using an intricate system of whistles, clicks, and pulsed calls. Before the attack even begins, they are communicating underwater, so every single whale knows exactly where to move, who is playing what role, and when to strike. Even more astonishing is that every single pod has its own unique vocal dialect. Just like human beings from different countries speak entirely different languages, an orca from the Pacific cannot naturally understand the calls of an orca from the Atlantic. They can even recognize individual family members just by the specific sound of their voice. And this leads us to one of the most mind-blowing facts in all of biology. There is not just one single way that orcas hunt. Because they are spread across the entire globe, different populations of orcas have developed completely different cultures. Scientists literally use the word culture because these complex behaviors are not inherited through genetics. An orca's not born knowing how to do this. The behaviors are entirely learned, taught by the older generations to the young. In Norway, their entire culture is built around the carousel feeding of herring we just explored. But if you travel down to the freezing extremes of Antarctica, you will witness a completely different culture known as wave hunting.
Here, the target is not fish, but seals resting on flat sheets of floating sea ice. Several whales will line up side by side. They will charge toward the ice floe and dive under at the exact same millisecond. The synchronized movement of their massive bodies displaces so much water that it creates an enormous, perfectly shaped wave. The wave crashes over the ice, washing the helpless seal straight into the freezing water where another whale is waiting to grab it.
If you travel to Argentina, the culture changes again to something even more dangerous: beach hunting. Here, orcas will intentionally throw their massive bodies out of the water and onto the dry, sandy beaches to grab unsuspecting sea lion pups right off the shore. Once they grab their prey, they have to wait for an incoming wave to slide their heavy bodies back into the ocean. This is incredibly dangerous. If a whale miscalculates the tide or pushes too far up the sand, it will become stranded and die. Young whales have to spend years just watching and learning before they are ever allowed to try this themselves. Off the coast of New Zealand, the local orcapods are elite specialists at hunting stingrays, carefully learning how to bite them without being struck by the venomous barb. And in the Pacific Northwest, the culture is so deeply ingrained that different pods living in the exact same waters refuse to eat the same food. Some pods are known as residents, and they eat exclusively salmon. Other pods, known as transients, hunt dolphins, seals, and other marine mammals. They have completely different diets, completely different hunting techniques, and completely different cultures.
Because these incredible hunting strategies are learned, teaching the next generation is vital for survival. Young orca calves do not automatically know how to wave wash a seal or tail slap a heron. Marine biologists have observed adult orcas intentionally slowing down their hunts, holding back their full strength so the young calves can practice the techniques. Recent, astonishing underwater footage even showed pods of orcas rehearsing drowning techniques on one another. They were gently pushing each other underwater and holding positions, apparently teaching the youngsters the exact skills they will eventually need to subdue very large, dangerous prey. At the center of all this teaching and all this culture is the matriarch. Orca pods are fiercely matriarchal societies. The oldest female in the pod is the undisputed leader. Because female orcas can live for 80 years, these grandmothers have lived through decades of changing ocean conditions. When food is scarce, it is the grandmother who remembers where the hidden hunting grounds are. Knowledge is passed directly from the grandmother to the mother to the calf.
When you look at the whole picture, it becomes obvious why teamwork is worth the effort. By hunting together, the pod wastes far less energy. They secure significantly more food. They are capable of taking down incredibly large prey that would be impossible for a solo hunter.
The orca is the ultimate apex predator. Absolutely no natural predators hunt a healthy orca. They are the untouchable kings and queens of the sea.
To a human standing on the shore, the vast ocean often looks empty. But beneath those waves, a highly intelligent society is hard at work. They are utilizing deep planning, complex communication, specialized roles, and ancient knowledge. They do not simply overpower their prey with brute force, they outsmart it. And that is exactly what makes the orca one of the greatest, most terrifying, and most brilliant hunters planet Earth has ever produced.